Before the video starts, don't forget to watch part 1 of the Congo Free State. The link will be in the description below. With Leopold II, now king, he started going to work with his big idea of starting a colony. And his first step would be to plead with Parliament to establish the rights for a colony in primarily Africa. However, it was all in vain since Parliament didn't really see the potential a colony would have. But Leopold wasn't just going to give up that easily. He instead came up with a different plan. So first, he needed to establish his privately controlled colony without the support of Parliament. Next, he needed a spot to set up his colony, in which he later decided that West Africa would be a good spot after seeing how well the Portuguese had done at setting up colonies in the area a few years back. And on a side note, only 20% of Africa had been colonized, meaning a scramble was about to happen. Cough, cough. In early September of 1876, Leopold had encouraged major European powers to come together and talk about the future of Africa. This would be known as the Brussels Geographic Conference. Leopold called to abolish the Arab slave trade in Africa, hoping to westernize the continent. And so, the International African Society was formed, with member nations in Europe and even the US. And if you're wondering what the International African Society was, well, to sum it up, this society was supposed to discover large areas in Africa and civilianize the continent. But surprise, surprise, these countries started operating almost entirely independent. This was due to the countries putting economic and prestige over the society, which was very uncool. This would also later be known as the Scramble for Africa. And King Leopold took full advantage of this, contracting a British explorer named Henry Morton Stanley, who was immediately sent to the Congo and given the orders to claim as much land as he could in West Africa and take as many resources as he could. Now brace yourselves, because this story is about to take a dark turn. Now imagine there is a big pot of gold, and in order to get any, you need to beat a bunch of people at a race. Well, let's call that race the Berlin Conference, which was from 1884 to 1885. The Berlin Conference was somewhat similar to a race, but imagine a race with a mentality of kill or be killed for territory in Africa. And that's the situation the Congo was in. And King Leopold wasted no time. Over 400 treaties were made to local lords, which forced them to give up their land in exchange for practically nothing. And in less than a year, Leopold had gained about 2.3 million square kilometers of land for his new African colony, which was officially named the Congo Free State in early February 1885, and officially recognized after the Berlin Conference. And speaking of the Berlin Conference, the French took a pretty big piece of northern Congo during the conference, and Leopold was also officially granted the entirety of the Congo Free State for himself right after the Berlin Conference without anyone putting up a fight. Going back, Leopold formed a team of European officers who drafted hundreds of Congolese soldiers to serve in the state militia, known as the Force Publique, in order to get rid of the Arab slave trade. However, it was later used to intimidate the Congolese people by using brutal tactics. Every town was forced to give up their natural resources, and children as young as 7 were put to work. And you may have heard or even seen the brutal hand-cutting punishments. Also known as the rubber terror, the innocent Congolese people had their hands cut off if they didn't meet their daily quota of natural resources, such as rubber. From 1885 to 1908, these atrocities were committed on the daily. This was until Edmond Burrell, who was a rubber exporter from France, was horrified by the atrocities being committed in the Congo Free State. And so he made it his mission to inform the world through newspapers in Europe what was happening. And soon after the word spread, a British diplomat named Roger Casmette was sent to investigate in the early 1900s. The world soon found out about what was happening in the Congo Free State. But here is where our story gets a little mixed. You see, even though what Belgium was doing was not okay with any country, it wasn't as simple as just taking the colony of Belgium away like a kid's toy. Especially since Leopold was on his deathbed on December 1909. Before his death, he ensured that all the personal records of the Congo over the past 24 years were destroyed. This was because in 1908, Belgium had fully annexed the Congo. This practically made a clean sheet with almost no traces left behind. Well, not exactly, since many information and rumors got leaked. And you see, the great superpowers of the world had called for something to be done. Countries such as the US and France were disgusted by what had been happening in the Congo Free State. And the UK was extremely close to intervening militarily. But surprise, surprise, Germany sided with Belgium diplomatically. Germany saved Belgium and the empire. For what reasons may still be unclear. My theory is that Germany was already planning an invasion of France for the future. So if the UK or France set up a puppet government in Belgium, then it would be much harder for them to win. This theory is backed by the Germans' World War I strategy named the Shefflin Plan. And speaking of the First World War, when it happened, Belgium was in the front lines and was heavily occupied, causing them to not being able to fully control the Congo. And after the Second World War, which by the way was much worse for Belgium, the Congo was looking for independence. And on June 30, 1960, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, or DRC, was formed. Military coup would happen, renaming the country Zaire. And a little spoiler warning, the first and much larger Second Congolese War would happen over the next few decades, so be on the lookout for that. The story of Belgium and the Congo is unlike one history has ever seen before. Should Belgium still pay reparations for what Leopold did in the Congo? And did Belgium turn a blind eye to everything that was happening in the Congo by allowing Leopold to do what he did? Or were they simply following normal procedures for the time? It was an absolutely horrific event that all Belgium has ever done was formally apologize for what happened in the Congo. But no matter what anyone may think of this, we must never forget what happened.